Hi, first thing we do, we install Visual Studio Community Edition. Just Google it, and then the first link should already be here. Download, install. What happens? It will load a lot of modules, will take a time. I have it here a bit speed up. And you want to see this mask here where you can select a couple of components. We need .NET development, we need Universal Windows, we need C++. And if you scroll a bit down, we also need game development. Here there are two components interesting. The one is already checked, IDE support for Unreal Engine. And if you scroll a bit down, you also have the Unreal Engine installer. So we start really blank. And if you then again go a bit down, you see C++ on Linux. We need a couple of components there, so just install it with it. And you see already 20 gigabyte. Language packs, if you need one, definitely. And very important, installation location. As I said, that is already 23 gigabyte. It will be more. So maybe reserve a terabyte or so. Yeah, disk only for this 3D development because it will be a lot of materials there. You let it run, you launch it, and with a bit of luck, you see this mask. Give it a second. And here normally you can select a project that is there. We don't have one at the moment, so we continue without code. Here's a couple of news, like Unreal Blueprint support. But let's close that. We open our Epic Game Launcher, sign in. In my case, I just use Google. You can use a lot of other options. That is signing in the first time only. And then you should see the Unreal Game Launcher mask. Let's close this one. Where you essentially have three different parts. So that is store, library, and Unreal Engine. Store, yeah, that is games mostly. You scroll down, you get one for free each week. The library, that is all the installed games. Don't have anything here. More interesting for us is the Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine news, quite interesting. You see a lot of trainings there referenced. Then you have samples. These are big projects like Lyra, City Sample, but also example projects. You see a lot of content examples, MetaHuman. So that's extremely interesting. You find a lot here. The marketplace where you can buy or you get for free a lot of components like animation, blueprints, models, and so on and so on. Interesting, maybe free for this month. You see a lot of components that are made free, normally 5 or 6 every month that you can download, but they are very powerful components that are free anyway. So especially for models, that is extremely interesting. Blueprints and plugins, yeah, are sometimes a bit outdated. So we are here. Lyra we already bought from the marketplace, but we don't have an engine yet. So let's install one. You get the latest engine 5.1.1 at this point of time. Choose the location again. That will be at least 20 gigabytes, so a lot of space is needed. Select and install. Depending on your internet connection, that will take some time. Speeding it up here a bit. Actually, it was more than 2 hours for me. And here, with this arrow down, you see a couple of things like set it as a current engine for standards, or you have different options. For example, installing, deinstalling a couple of components, adding more platforms if you want to develop for a new platform. So these are the things that you can do here. What we now need is a connection between Unreal and our Visual Studio. You go to the installation folder of Unreal, you go to Engines, Extras, and Unreal VS. This one here. And just install this plugin. It's an Unreal Engine 2 Visual Studio plugin that allows you to debug better. You have more information what's happening on both platforms and stuff like that. So just complete this one. Good. Last thing that we need is actually having Lyra. Same thing. You look for a directory with a lot of space in it. Lyra is 25 gigabyte. And then you just download it. Again, that will take time. Speeding it up again. And then we are ready to start it. Just open the directory where we installed Lyra. We have the Lyra starter game folder here, and here we have the project file. If you double click, it will start the first time, or if you change something in the settings, it will compile all the shaders. That can easily take depending on your graphic card, a couple of minutes to hours. And then you should see this empty mask for the moment. What I normally do if I have a new project, kind of a couple of convenient things. So if you go to Windows Content Browser and take one of them, you have a content browser that is permanently visible down there. If you go here to the settings in the upper right of the content browser, you have the ability to make a couple of things visible. Plugin should be selected and the engine content should be selected. Then going back to Windows, we want to have the world settings. Where is it? Down there. World settings give you the option to add new game modes, something we will do later. And here in tools, you have the option to use a search box for in blueprint search or asset search. So I just plug it down here. So I have my kind of tool kit down below. And here the output log, same thing. We plug it in here. And then when we have all the three components here where I can search and find everything that I need. Good. Let's continue. Edit, editor preference, a small thing, but quite important. You just type open here and you will see that there's an option to select the open location, and the default will open a couple of new windows. With two screens, that's okay. With one is not so much. So just use main window here and then we are done. That's the kind of base setup that I normally use. So then we go to tools and we actually have to create the Visual Studio projects from Lyra. And that is something that needs to be recreated a couple of times from time to time, depending what you do. Lyra will have to create it again, but that makes sure that Visual Studio is actually knowing all the files that were created here within Lyra, within our project that we will create. And yeah, that Lyra can be started and debugged from there. As I said, we use Blueprint only in our development, but in the background, you want to have the Visual Studio engine simply because that's our, let's say, growth option later. Going to the Lyra starter game folder, you now see the solution file that you can double click. First time Windows might ask which project you want to use for, or which program you want to use here. That should be Visual Studio 2022. And well, here as always. And then it should run. So opening that, you might see this yellow box here on the top right. That is if some modules are missing. If that is the case, just install whatever is missing. Might be another gigabyte or two. Here in this case, we have, let's see, yeah, 1.6 gigabyte again. So again, that might take some time. Let it run through. If this question comes, you just say yes. And then hopefully we have all the packages there. Yeah, no yellow box anymore. So we can go to solution, right click and say clean solution. That is to get rid of all the old things that might be here. And a couple of seconds later, you get clean one succeeded. So that's great. More important, right click and say rebuild solution. Rebuilding means it compiles all the modules that are there from Lyra. That can take, again, a lot of time. That's dependent on your main processor and can take a couple of minutes normally. And if that runs through, then you know that all the modules are really there. They are compiled, they are latest version, and you can now start from here. We select development editor here to get a lot of information while debugging and click the local Windows debugger. Unreal should start, Lyra should start, and then you really have a connection between your Lyra game environment and Visual Studio. We can start playing, we know everything going on both sides, and now we are ready really to use it and create our first game. Thank you.